Hello there, and welcome to the Marketing SOS Show. I'm your host, Eric E., and each week on the Marketing SOS Show, I take questions from someone like you, a listener of the show, who has an issue, a question, or maybe even a problem in the world of marketing or business that I do my very best to help answer. And on today's episode, we got a question from Darren, who I think is experiencing something that a lot of people do, in the fact that you're getting busy and overwhelmed at work, to the point where you're just trying to catch up, stay afloat, and not drown, but you don't take the time to step back and look at how to make things better, how to fix the process. In the world of entrepreneurship, or even of running different businesses, this is often referred to as working in the business and not working on the business. So you're so busy running on the hamster wheel that you're not stepping back and looking at how that hamster wheel is actually running, or whether you should be even running on that hamster wheel. So this is a problem I've seen many times. I've fallen into myself. So let's see what we can do to help Darren out just after this. Darren writes, "Hi Eric, I'm questioning what is possible for one person to do. I'm an in-house social media manager, managing strategy, content creation, and publishing for 5 separate brands under one parent company, which also has one social channel, so I guess there are 6 brands total. Each of the main 5 brands has 4 to 5 core social channels that must be updated several times a week, 3 to 5 times each at minimum, not including Instagram stories and tweet activity, which can vary. Some of the other channels include Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Pinterest. Each week, that results in a huge number of posts, and that's not including common audits, customer service issues, setting up paid campaigns and budgets, planning time, meetings, etc., times 5. Additionally, this is a new role and almost no formal social media processes were in place, so I'm finding myself having to find new workflows and getting used to several other people's ways of doing things for each brand, taking up even more valuable time. I'm finding it near impossible to keep up with this pace on my own, especially as we all know culling, vetting, and acquiring quality content is a time-sucking chore, and then getting approvals can be a back-and-forth black hole of task switching until you can move forward. I'm losing time that could be spent strategizing, to drafting and scheduling, and dealing with details. And lastly, all the brands want engagement and growth, obviously, and I feel that I'm just keeping them afloat with consistent posts, which is all I seemingly have time for. This is not the great creative, growth-oriented plans that I had when I started 5 months ago. I'm looking for any tips to help manage this uphill battle and make my weeks less depressing and frantic. I feel like having one other person to do the social coordination / scheduling makes sense, right? Unfortunately, that is not on the table. I asked, is this normal for one experienced social media person, which I am, to take on? Thanks." Well, Darren, yeah, your workload does sound quite heavy. Doing the social work for so many brands, when they likely only see or care about what you're doing for their brand, I'm talking like the brand managers, they don't know what the rest of your workload is like. They don't know what everyone else's brand is doing, what you're doing for them. And perhaps they don't care. So you do have an uphill battle here in front of yourself in terms of how to manage your workflow, how to manage these brands, and how to manage the expectations of your colleagues. So have you spoken with your boss? Have you discussed what your workload is like? I'm assuming you may have, since you said that a second person is off the table. But you are too busy and are not as effective as you could be. If you had time, you could likely plan better posts and content that would generate even more value and growth with your followers. So one thing that you should look at doing, perhaps, is time blocking. Work on developing content and your posts for each brand by itself. See if you can start getting incrementally ahead with the approval processes as well. So perhaps you don't post as frequently for a couple months, but you're working on getting months and months worth of content off the ground and approved ahead of time. Short term, the content may suffer, but long term, you may have better developed content, and you're not going to be as stressed and frazzled in the long term, which realistically is what your employer should want, because they don't want you burnt out and quitting and going somewhere else, because otherwise that content's going to be dead in the water and no one's going to be updating any of those brands. So you definitely need to get empowered by your boss and be allowed to set expectations and workflows with each brand manager or team. It sounds like you're adapting how you do things based on how every other brand wants it, But at some point, you have to lead the charge. You are the social media person. You are the expert in the organization. There has to be some give and take. You can't just be at their beck and call. You need to get your boss and the company to stop treating you like a task rabbit and then allowing you to lead social strategy, including its implementation and how you think it should be led. Take a look at reducing the amount of channels you post to for each brand. And I know those brand managers are not going to be happy with that because they want their message blasted everywhere. However, there must be some channels that are not as effective, and your time and their dollars could be better spent elsewhere. Likely, you're going to need a come to Jesus meeting with each brand with the support of your team and your direct leadership. You really need to make the case to grow your team. Now, I know that your boss mentioned they can't do it right now, but can you look at adding that into the budget for next year just by one person? And I realize why they may not want to hire a person. It's not just their wage, it's the benefits, it's all the things that go into it that make it an expensive cost to a business to hire someone. Now, if your boss doesn't want to hire someone, that is fine, but look at some other options. Can you outsource to an outside freelancer or an agency to help you with the workload? These might be easier conversations than bringing on someone new, especially if you can cap that amount at something predictable so your boss doesn't see it running wild. What does the rest of your marketing team look like? Can you leverage anyone else's time, say a content marketing manager? Perhaps with your design team, you can have them create assets for you from all their other campaigns with already approved art and copy, so you don't have to go through the whole process of making things yourself and then getting them approved by the brand manager. Use already approved assets. Now, one other question I have for you is the content you're developing. Obviously, it's always best to have something brand new and shiny. That's always the desire with any social media manager. But does it all need to be new and novel? Can you repurpose old content, like directly heal to old blog posts with different post copy? Or using, say, a video or a piece of audio, getting transcriptions from it, making that into a blog post, taking snippets, making that your Instagram stories, or making that part of what you put on social media, the captions over an image? How can you repurpose existing content to make your life easier? That is the name of the game here, Darren. So Darren, thank you so much for that question. You're in a tough spot. It seems like you're getting pushed and pulled in many different directions. You're inundated with a ton of work, and you're going to have a hard time getting out of it and being effective at your job. But this really is the time, and there is no good time for this, but to step back, look at how you're doing things, look at ways to improve the workflow between teams, and try to make the effort to get that done. There's never a good time for that. Everyone is always busy, but you need to step back and do it. Otherwise, you're going to burn yourself out. You're not going to be doing effective work, and who knows how that's going to impact your career. And I'm sure everyone out there listening is busy and running ragged, but you should really look and evaluate how you're working, what you're working on, how you can do things better, and what you really need to be happy or more effective in your role. Everyone's always too busy to do this. I'm sure everyone that's listening is going to agree and say, yeah, it sounds like a great idea. I'm going to get to it next quarter or next year, but it's never going to happen unless you set the time aside to work on it, if not for your company, for your own sanity. So thank you, Darren, for the question, and thank you, everyone, for listening. I truly appreciate your time. And if you could leave me a rating and review on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, or wherever it is you listen to your podcast, that'd be greatly appreciated and helps to grow the show. And so with that, until the next episode, I am done, and we'll talk again soon.